All right, so today we are here with Miss Megan Gabehart, Mrs. Megan Gabehart. She's the daughter of composer Barbara York, um, one of my good friends, kind of like a sister. So Megan, you are a music teacher. Where do you teach at?
I teach at Meadowview Grade School in Labette County, Kansas.
Okay. All right, so I just have a series of questions. Some of them I ask everyone that we're doing this with. So we're just going to start it with tell me about your childhood and growing up with Barbara York as your mother.
Okay. I almost feel like, as strange as that is, you put that as one question. I almost feel like that's two separate questions.
Okay.
Because growing up as my childhood was one thing, and growing up with Barbara York as your mother is a whole nother thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So let's do the first one and then we can answer the second one later.
All right. I had a pretty great childhood for the most part. Born and raised in Canada, obviously. We moved to the United States right after my sixth grade, right before junior high. But born in Ottawa and lived in small towns around the Toronto area and Ottawa area for the first couple of years. Then we moved to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and spent several years there before moving to the United States. Good, basic, wholesome childhood. Canadian, being an expat, essentially being a Canadian living outside of Canada and moving here to the United States. I've read a really great book about it by the actor Mike Myers, and he said that in some parts it's like a dream, like you wonder if it even existed, because it was so kind of idealized and idealistic in many ways. Canada's a really great country and it's a wonderful place to grow up, and you kind of look back with these ridiculously fond memories going, it can't have been that good. Like, it can't have been that good. So it was a really good childhood for the most part. My parents divorced between my sixth and seventh grades. And my dad was an American before he moved to Canada. He actually gave up his American citizenship to marry my mom and live there. Back then, you couldn't be a dual citizen. So he had to give up his American citizenship to become a Canadian citizen. And when they decided to divorce, my mom was working on her master's at the University of Saskatchewan and wanted to transfer to UMKC. And so they stayed married for a little bit longer and got my mom her green card and got my brother and I our American citizenship. And we moved down here, and my dad sponsored her for her green card. So everybody moved down to Kansas City, even though we went from one house in Canada to two houses in Kansas City.
Okay.
So I kind of think of that's like the end of my childhood, even though I was only, in middle school and very young. I skipped a grade, so I was younger than most even for seventh grade.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the end of my childhood.
So did Barbara finish her master's?
She did not finish her master's.
So would UMKC not I know she said in the interviews that we did that it just wasn't financially possible for her to get a doctorate from UMKC. Was that kind of the case with the master's?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really rough time. She was in a new country. She was divorced, freshly divorced, and financially was just struggling a lot. So she did what she had to do.
Okay. Well, UMKC is going to watch this, so maybe they'll just give
There's
her...
more to that story that I'll tell you not on camera.
Okay.
Sometime.
Maybe they'll just give her an honorary doctorate.
As for growing up with Barbara York as your mother, which is a whole different question.
Okay, yeah.
It's, first of all, she wasn't Barbara York. She was Barbara Spence Potter for most of my life. Didn't become Barbara York till I was in high school. But it's a really weird juxtaposition of life circumstances kind of hitting in bizarre ways at times. My youngest memory, my very first memory I have, I would have been probably 2, And the farthest back I can remember is at 2 years old, being at one of the rehearsals for Colette. And she was practicing. I can tell you the auditorium because had a pretty big curve. It was a single level but slanted floor. The stage was there. She and the soprano were practicing just off stage on the floor, on the carpet area, down in the corner. And my brother and I were rolling down the aisles to keep ourselves amused. And so that was my childhood. My childhood was essentially at times getting hauled around to places and to people and to rehearsals, and I didn't know any different. That was just what life was. And I laugh because I've done it to my children, and so they don't know any better. They've grown up in theaters, and that's just kind of what we do. But that's literally my earliest memory. And it was a really weird combination of my mom being somewhat famous, and then the older I got, the more famous she was. And it's a very strange situation to be in. So it's kind of surreal at times. I was Barbara York's daughter for a really long time, and I used to give her a really hard time about it because when she came to work at Pitt State for the first time, it was like, "Oh, you're Megan Potter's mom," and I was like, "Yes, so there. And now I'm back to being, even in Pittsburgh, I'm Barbara York's daughter. So it's come full circle, and we're back to it.
I remember the first time I met Megan. I was a freshman, and I think it was your first year of teaching, maybe second. You were at Wyandotte High School,
Mhm.
and Doug used to have people, like you guys came for like the homecoming masked band day thing, and so I ran back, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm A." Like I had this whole introduction, and you were like, "I know who you are. I something. I just graduated from here," and I'm like, "Oh."
Were
So
you my student tour guide kind of thing?
yes,
I was
yeah,
just like, yeah, I know who you are. Get it together, kid.
yeah, yeah. I had no idea who you were.
How funny.
Yeah. Um, okay, so that I just thought of another question, but so you're a music teacher now. How much of your mom influenced that decision? And to kind of add in what just popped in my head, you have a very, very wealthy theater background. You and your mom, to a point, were the ones that taught me how to do music direction for Pitts. You let me do assistant directing on Wizard of Oz. You
Mhm.
co-directed with Dinosaur Musical. Yeah, Dinosaur Musical.
No, I assistant directed. I did not co-direct. I assistant directed.
Okay, you assistant directed, and then there might have been another one in there at some point. But so I know how you guys work and what you can't get done, and it's, you're not going to find anyone better. So, how much of your mom influenced your career path and I guess kind of your passions?
A ton of it. I mean, all of it, essentially. The difference is that I went into instrumental music and she didn't. She did play the cello, but or orchestra person the same way that I'm a band person. Us band folk, we're kind of a weird little lump in our music society.
Mhm.
But I eventually decided to major in music because it wasn't an option not to anymore. I had every intention my entire life of becoming either a doctor or a veterinarian or something in the medical field. All throughout high school, my plan was to go to KU, and I was going to study virology and immunology. I was going to become an immunologist and study viruses and the immune system and create vaccines. That was my plan until my until October 31st of 1998, which was our final home football game for my senior year of high school. And I went to Shawnee Mission Northwest, and we share a football stadium with Shawnee Mission North because in the Shawnee Mission district, there's just not enough land to build stadiums for everybody. So all of our home games were actually at Shawnee Mission North, and we'd have to load the bus at our high school, and then we'd bus over to the stadium and perform for the game, and then bus back to the high school and get picked up back at our school. And I was on the bus on my way home just in tears because I knew I was planning on probably going pre-med, and I wasn't going to have time for band in college. Like, this was it for me. I was done. And I realized I wasn't done, and I wasn't ready to be done. And it was at that moment that I realized that throughout my life, most people, medicine would be their career and music would be their fun on the side, their hobby. And for me, it had always been the opposite. Medicine and my love of biology and all of that was always a hobby, and music had been my career. I had my first church choir of my own at age 13. Just, like taking in her footsteps. She had too many choirs at church, and I was already assisting with one. And she said, "Do you want to just take them?" I said, "Sure, I'll take them." And I had my first children's choir at age 13. They were the 4 and 5-year-olds.
There you go.
So, yeah, I mean, I didn't know any other, and I don't know any other way of living. Music is my life. Music is my career. It's all I've ever known. You say you learned how to music direct, for musicals from me. I learned that, I joke, I kind of learned it through osmosis, because I was never taught that. I've never been taught that. I've had zero vocal training in my life.
Yeah.
I was never in a choir other than my mom's church choirs. And I've never taken any vocal education courses. Yeah, I was an instrumental ed major, and then I got a master's in wind conducting. So I teach people to sing all the time, and I've never been taught to sing, and I've never been taught how to teach people to sing.
Mm-hmm.
I just do things the way I watched her doing them my entire life and didn't realize that I was watching. And she even remarked on that at one point, because when people are having trouble, getting up to a high note, and I'll start doing, visualization stuff with them. And like, okay, I want you to imagine that it's coming out through the back of your neck and going up and over your head like this.
Mm-hmm.
And she stared at me one day and watched. She goes, "Where did you learn that? That's such and such technique. Where did you learn that?" And I was like, "I learned that from you when I was like 4. Like, I don't know where I learned it. You do it and they do it right. So I do it too, and it works."
I've definitely used that because I learned that from you. Like,
Yeah.
the whole technique of like getting a note and throwing it across the room, I learned that from you.
Yeah, I mean, singing can be a very physical thing, and you have to physically connect with the music. And I learned that as a 2-year-old rolling down the aisles in theaters. And it all just stuck, which I find incredibly funny, because in composition, she had no formal training.
No, she
So.
didn't. I think if I remember correctly, she tried, and it just
She took
school,
one composition class and she dropped it after about 2 weeks. Yeah, it wasn't
they
what she wanted.
Yeah, they wanted her to be Schoenberg, and no,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
that wasn't happening. So I have a lot of questions that I want to ask, but it's only been 6 months, and just out of simple respect, I think that's
Here's the
all.
deal.
Okay.
Ask me anything you want. And if I'm not comfortable answering it, I won't.
Okay.
And I have no qualms telling you no.
Okay. I think, when we do, me and Travis and Gail are planning on doing interviews with the family, and I'll save more of the heavy hitters there. I just kind of wanted to get a perspective from someone that got to watch her, basically her entire career, just kind of iterate who she was. So we'll save that. We'll save that. So what is your mom's, I think I know the answer to this question, at least the top 3. What's your mom's favorite work or piece?
My favorite of hers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you don't know the answer.
I don't.
No, you don't. No. Yeah, I'm assuming are going for um, the tuba piece that we've been talking about this week. But
No.
oh, okay. No, my favorite piece by her is Unicorn Moon, which is
Yeah.
a musical that she did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a close second would probably be my bassoon concerto.
Okay.
She wrote for my senior recital.
I was going to say, did she write that for you?
Yep.
Okay. I didn't know that. I don't know anything about her other works yet. But there's a lot there to explore. Just
There is a lot.
the pieces that are sitting in front of me. I've got these, and you know that music that hadn't came in yet. Well, it came
How
in,
did it arrive?
and yeah, came in today. It's like 42 or 43 pieces.
Yeah, she
You know,
left all of her music to me. And I mean, just her scores take up multiple shelves of the bookshelf in her old office.
yeah,
And then there are boxes and boxes and boxes of things in the garage. And my very, very sweet stepfather has not asked me to take any of it yet because I have no idea where I'm going to put it.
yeah.
So he has been very good about that. But yeah, she left me all of her music, and just the scores are an entire bookshelf in her office. I had to alphabetize them. That
Yeah.
was painful. Yeah. She got on a cleaning organizing kick in her final couple of months because she couldn't do it herself. And therefore, she brought me in and made me like clean and organize her things so that she felt more comfortable, ready to go, I think is what it was, that she didn't feel like she was leaving a mess. And one of the things she had me do was alphabetize her entire collection of works.
A lot.
So it is
If
a lot.
you
So they're all in alphabetical order now.
if you had to estimate um her entire output, over 100,
Oh yeah, at least I mean, easy.
like over
I
100.
couldn't even could not even comprehend how many. I'd have to count. I have no clue.
I know that Colette is not printed or circulated. Unicorn Moon, I don't think it is.
No.
I don't know how many of them Brian has, but I know. I mean, there has to be dozens, if
Hmm.
not more, that are just pre tuba.
Yep.
And I think just what I know from Mike Fisher and her and others' stories, that the tuba kind of just was dumb luck, and oh, I want to kind of try this. I want to write something for you.
Yeah.
I like the way you play, and then it just kind of blossomed. And you
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
as a low brass person, I know her music because she's her, but in the grand scheme of her entire career, she's probably best known for Colette, simply because of the award that she won, and the
I disagree. I think she's much better known for her tuba works, her tuba euphonium stuff now.
you think.
Um, yeah, oh, definitely. I mean, that was a great award, but that was a long time ago, and that was in Canada. And I mean, who remembers who won the Grammy in 1981?
Some gay in Oklahoma.
So no, I think I mean, her tuba euphonium works are what have made her famous not even nationwide, worldwide at this point.
Okay. I was going to say the other piece might be I think it's a Butterfly in Time.
A
The one,
butterfly in time. Yeah.
yeah, it got nominated for a Juno award,
So
and
for a Grammy.
um, her bio says a Juno award.
Pretty sure it was a Grammy. I'll have
Okay,
to look it up.
okay.
It did get it. Yeah, it did get nominated for Juno, but I think it got nominated for a Grammy too.
Oh, okay.
One of those did.
If that is the case, then that needs to be Grammy
I'll
nominated
check.
after her name as well.
I'll check. But I thought there was a Grammy nomination in there too, maybe.
Okay. Um,
But a Juno is basically a Canadian Grammy. So
other Canadian Tony, because isn't, or wait, Juno.
no,
No,
Juno. Yeah,
okay.
Canadian Grammy. Yeah, I'm right.
I have too many things going on.
Adora Mava Moore is an off-Broadway
Yeah.
Tony, essentially, a Canadian off-Broadway Tony.
Yes. She, the LA Times wrote up something about A Butterfly in Time, because I was kind of looking up something about it just to see if I could purchase it. And I think I found like one used hard copy and it was like $35 and I was broke at the time. But I found an article by the LA Times about children's pieces from the early, probably 2004, 2005,
Mhm.
somewhere right around the time it was written. And it was confusing because um, I think she calls it A Butterfly in Time, but there's a word right before it. And then that's the subtitle or something, but everyone calls it A Butterfly in Time. Um, if that makes sense. I'll
It
find it.
might be Peggy's Violin, A Butterfly in Time.
Yes.
Okay.
It was about a violin. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's about a violin.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll explore some of that someday.
Yeah.
Um,
I can give you more rundown on that too later.
okay. Okay. So, by the time people are watching this, the website will be out there for everyone to see and use and reference. And there will be a place to submit programs directly to Megan. But just for the time being, Megan, where can people submit programs? Can they do it through Facebook? Do you want them to email you?
For the time being, if people just post a picture of the program with her work and tag her in it on Facebook, then we can find them when we have them. We get them that way.
Okay.
Yeah, there will be an email that people can submit them directly to us. But for now, just posting them on Facebook and tagging Barbara York.
Good to know.
I
And
manage her memorial page, so I still friend people as needed and take care of all that.
yeah, and just to help out other composers, especially living composers, why did your mom start doing that, and why is it so important?
The programs.
Hmm.
So ASCAP pays royalties based upon how much your music is performed by their ASCAP, payees. And she was being grossly underpaid. They were estimating her performances and were hugely underestimating how much she was being performed around the world, but mainly around the United States. And so she started taking in programs and submitting the programs as proof of the amount that her work was being performed. And so that affects the royalty payments and
Cool.
the credit that she's given for her performances.
Good. Yeah. So if you are watching this, this is not just for Barbara, but this is for all living and working composers
Yeah.
and their estates. Um, Submit programs to whoever. If you have to seek it out and search it, just do it because they need to get their jush.
Well, and email them and call them and let them know that you're putting them in your thesis or in your dissertation, or that you're performing them on your senior recital, or that you're, whatever it is, reach out to them. They want to know, they care, they love it. This is why they do what they do. So reach out to them. I have never once had a composer that I've reached out to not respond back, just overwhelmingly supportively. For my master's thesis, I contacted a couple composers and they were thrilled. They were just tickled pink that somebody cared about their music and wanted their bio info and that kind of thing. So please reach out and support them and buy their music and perform their music, because this is what we've got. We've got to keep our people going. We've got to support them and give them a living.
Yes. And if you're lucky, you'll wind up with someone like Barbara who will write you novels through Facebook
Yeah.
Messenger. So um, I think I could publish a small book just on, you know.
Yeah.
All right, Megan. So I'm just gonna ask one more question. And I've asked everyone that has done commissions. I'm gonna ask myself when I do my own interview because I think it's really important and it's hard to answer. What do you think Barbara York's legacy is?
I mean, you and I have talked a little about how fiercely protective I feel of her legacy. Um, I, I always seem to like go back to the Lin-Manuel Miranda's Hamilton, and in the song "Wait for It," Aaron Burr sings My mother was a genius. My father demanded respect. When they died, they left no instructions, just a legacy to protect. And that has hit me hardcore the last couple of months, because my mother was a genius
Mhm.
and her music is amazing. And that is her legacy. And I feel a fierce sense of protectiveness in her legacy, and keeping her music alive and keeping her voice out there. Um, her legacy is her music. She poured everything into her music. She didn't pull any punches. She put politics into her music. She put social causes into her music. She put religion into her music. She put, everything that she believed, she put into her music. So that is her legacy. If we can keep her music around and keep it being played and keep it out there, then she's still with us.
Yeah, I agree. It's not going anywhere.